What's the name of the professor that you worked with again?
I just took a class online. His name's Stuart McGill.
Okay.
And he wrote a book called The Back Mechanic and Mechanisms of Back Pain. And he has all these fancy graphs about like time under load and what that means when there's creep, for instance. So like if you were to sit all day in a rounded position, your body can tolerate it for a certain amount of time under that load, and then it gets worse. So the same would be true if you were lifting weights or something like that. If you were doing that in a position that was harmful to your body, you would have some time that your body would tolerate it, and then it would creep into a place where it wouldn't. Or sometimes that means holding long yoga poses. You would also get that potential creep where you're getting closer and closer to a mechanism of injury. But he also doesn't believe there's a lot of times you'll go to a doctor and they'll take and do an MRI or something, and they'll say that you have just back pain that they can't quite categorize. And he just doesn't believe that that's true. He said you can almost always do the right thing to figure out what mechanism exactly is the cause of that pain, and then how to avoid it or tighten things up to be able to let things heal. So it was a great workshop and good things to consider as we keep moving forward.
Thank you.
All right. So spotlight this. I think I hit record. Any other questions before I take you to mute? Okay.
I love.
So go ahead and start with your feet pointed straight ahead. Take a few deep breaths and just notice where your body is in space. And then go ahead and just go forward and back a little bit and allow your toes to grip the floor, and as if you're kind of ski jumping forward, let that go. That's going to change the load on your back, and then go backward. And I'm just trying to access some of the guide wires that would hold you in space. So all the way from the toes up, and remembering that your body is connected as a unit through the fascia. Good, just gently moving back and forth. And then go ahead and put your hands on your rib cage and take a really deep, full breath. Expand your ribs out to the side. Make sure your feet are still pointed straight ahead. And then find some length in your torso. So ribs and hip bones. And we'll use that foundation training model to just create some space. And then if you put your fingers right into the oblique muscles, sort of even with your belly button, and you just push out and create a stiffening in your torso, just find how your abdominal muscles can support you that way. And then take a breath again. So we'll use that some throughout the day, throughout these exercises. Deep breath in, exhale, and just push your fingers back out. So it's not a drawing in or narrowing at your waistline at the moment, but a pushing of the oblique muscles and the transverse abdominis back out a little bit to create some stiffness. Good. And then relax. Go ahead and relax your belly and draw your shoulders closer to your spine just a little bit. Slide your shoulders up toward your ears and press them down. And just notice if you have bilateral activation, even activation between your shoulders. And that your shoulders can move freely over your rib cage. And relax. One more set. Draw them in, squeeze, slide them up, and push them down. Lift and lower. And right into a shoulder roll, up and forward and around. So we still want to notice where there's imbalances and work toward bringing a more symmetrical position between the two sides. Backwards. Feel that move all the way through your upper back, in toward the lower back, and up and around again. And backwards one last time, up, back. Feel your mid trap, the muscle down at the bottom of your shoulder blades begin to activate as you pull your arm around and back. Excellent. And then check your hip position. So go ahead and take your feet out and just first feel as you turn your legs into that external rotation. How does that feel? Stacking your shoulders. And then find your butt muscles. Squeeze and release your glutes. Tighten, release. I got a click in my knee as I did that. Squeeze your butt, release. Can you get an even squeeze through your glutes? And then go back to feet pointed straight again and find your butt muscles. Once again, soft knees, so take the quads out of it and then just activate butt muscles again. Tighten and release. So if you have a knee that goes in, a medial femur, being able to find your butt muscles will help bring that leg into better alignment, help square the pelvis, possibly help unrotate the spine. Getting that all into good alignment first thing. Good, we'll go right into the psoas this morning. So go ahead and just take a right foot forward, left foot back lunge position. And you can even bend that back knee just slightly. And then the psoas, so the psoas is your primary hip flexor. It pulls that leg up. It also brings the torso down, but its main role is as your primary hip flexor. And it goes from your low back all the way through to the front of your pelvis. And it has a fascial connection for some people all the way to their wrist. So go ahead and feel right in the front of that hip where that muscle comes through the pelvis down to the leg. And I just want you to reach that arm all the way up and just see if you can feel that whole fascial connection all the way up to that hand. And then lean toward your right and just breathe, opening up that space. And come back. Switch your feet. And check it on the other side. So first just come into that stance, square your hips, and just feel how does your body load that? Shoulders over hips. Bending that knee, that back knee can even bend just a little bit. So in a lunge position, this front butt muscle is working down to that knee, and then just feel that right psoas and reach the right arm up and see if you can connect the fascial connection, like the sheath that holds the muscle all the way from the wrist down through the psoas down to that inner thigh, and just open that space a little bit. Breathe. So if your pelvis was tilted anterior, or that hip is tight because of sitting, or maybe there's some compression in your back because of a tight psoas, all of this just helps to open that space up. And come on up. Both feet pointed straight ahead. Bring your hands into the golfer's grip. Squeeze your shoulder blades onto your back and arms out to the side. Pinch. Relax your belly. Circle forward. 40 circles. Backwards. Squeeze. And release. Right into a windmill. Arms out to the side. Over to one side. Laterally flexing. And inhale, come up. Over to the other side. Now, if there was pain in either of these directions, then please skip this exercise. Come on up and over. If you had a posterior disc bulge or a lateral disc bulge, going on to this could create some symptoms. And once we make those mad, they tend to stay mad. So if this feels like a good movement in your body, please stay with it. If it feels like, oh, nope, I'm getting a warning, please listen to that. Good. Take your hips wider. Squeeze your legs in toward the midline a little bit. Imagine there's like a grid around your legs, and the tissues get to all contract a little bit to create base stability, all the way from your toes up the leg, and then again, over to one side and up, and over to the other side. Moving slowly through this. And wider again. Hug to the midline. Arms out to the side, over and up. This is a coordination of so many muscles. And again, you have all these fascial lines up the front of your body, twisting across your body, from the back shoulder to the back butt muscle. All of these lines of fascia that connect through the muscles that are moving as you go through this. And back in, over and up. Okay, give your arms just a second of rest. Let me change my screen real quick. Okay, we're going to do some nerve flossing. We'll start with the nerves that go from your neck, and they go down through the brachial plexus, down your arms. And those nerves get pulled around a little bit as you move your head around. So go ahead and bring your arms out to the side, palms up. And what I want you to do is you're going to lean your head over and turn your nose kind of down as you bring your arm in, and then come up and go over to the other side. Turn your head, ear toward your shoulder, or kind of nose toward your shoulder, in, and then coordinate this so it's moving together. And this is literally pulling on the nerves that go from the base of your head out through your chest, through the arms. And it's like flossing. And these can move many centimeters in your upper body from this pull. So if you had a stinger ever, or something was tight, or even some carpal tunnel, doing this movement, flossing that nerve, pulls it through the pathway and frees up that space. And just like every tissue in your body likes movement, so do the nerves. Great. Come down onto your belly. I just want you to lie down and fold your hands under your forehead. And first, just check this as a position. Is this comfortable for you? Can you get down into this position and completely relax here? Take a few deep breaths so the floor begins to hold your body stable. If there's rotation in your rib cage, that starts to come out. We start to gently restore some lumbar curve. If you are someone who sits a lot, that putting the posterior tilt in your pelvis, this gets to back to neutral, is restored to this neutral position with some lumbar curve. And then see if you can just relax completely. Let's take 3 full breaths right here. Expanding your rib cage, opening it wide, letting the shoulders completely relax. Okay, now into your floor block. As I mentioned before, you have that fascial connection from the psoas all the way to the wrists. So as we bring your arms up over your head, we're putting a pull on the psoas from your back all the way up, hands in the golfer's grip, then turn your arms out to the side. We're also asking your shoulder blades to do their rotation and your arm bones to externally rotate, which might be opposite of where your posture is normally. Go ahead and let your head go down. I know it's kind of a nose smush, but stay there. Keep your toes pigeon-toed and just hold that for a minute. Big breaths. Relaxing through your torso, using the time in this position to just restore the curvature of your spine. Also notice if your back is wanting to grab at all. That would be a good indication that we should look at what's happening as your body moves into this gentle extension. What's the gripping? Go ahead and take your arms out to the corners of your mat. Roll your upper arm bone back and hold. big full breaths, fully in. Expand, soften. Then straight out from your shoulders. Last position here, rotating those arms back. External rotation in the shoulder. Soften everything else. Allow the leg bones to turn in. And release. Press up onto your hands and knees. We'll introduce a little bit of flexion and extension. Go into your cats and dogs, letting your back hang down and then round up and down. Now, the nerves in your head, again, go down all the way to your feet. So as you are moving through cats and dogs, we're also beginning to nerve floss some of the nerves that are going down into your back and into the front of your legs even. We'll do a little more specific of that in just a second. But think of this whole neural pathway going down through the spinal canal, down where the sciatic nerve travels to your foot, or down in front where the femoral nerve travels. And we also have the ones that are going to your arms and legs. Nice. Take it into a hand leg opposite lift. So this time, that same stiffening that we did with that, if you were to push your fingers in toward your belly button and then push out to try to push your fingers out, that's the kind of stiffness that I want you to have here. Hold that stiffness and then hold and switch. This works like a rotation in our bodies. It can tighten up places that move too much. So sometimes we get extension in a spot in our back, for instance. That spot tends to be where we see wear and tear on an X-ray or an MRI. Sometimes that's the site of a herniated disc. And when we can create a little bit of stiffening and move more at the ball and sockets between the hip and shoulder, then we can tighten up some of those segments that maybe have extra movement. Keep going. All right, let's floss a few more nerves. Come down onto your belly. So I want you to imagine that you have a string from your head to your foot. And so as your foot goes down, your head goes up. And as your head goes down, your foot goes up. This is a sciatic nerve floss. So just going head up, foot down, foot up. Let's do 10 of these. And then switch sides. Foot down, head up, like you're pulling it through a straw. Up and down. Nice. And then one more, take your knees wider than your hips, and you're gonna go down, head down and forward, and then up and back. Head down and forward, head up and back. And then come back to your hands and knees and just do some regular cats and dogs one more time. And then come down onto your back with your block and your strap. I hope some of that is interesting to people and gives you another tool to use to work on the nerves in your body. Go ahead and come down and just feel feet on the floor, pelvis, rib cage, all in good alignment. Go ahead and extend your legs out straight, and we'll go into cross crawls. So a little bit of that stiffening, just a touch, opposite arm, opposite leg, up and down. Now, this would be fine for most people. There would be a slight caution for people who, when you pull your knee to your chest, the pelvis tips backwards into posterior tilt. And if you're somebody that has a posterior disc bulge and that's causing some sciatic pain or something, then pulling your knees into your chest and tipping your pelvis backwards, especially first thing in the morning, may not be the right kind of move for you. So feel if that's okay in your body. And the hard part is sometimes we don't know until the next day. This also should create some stability in your trunk. So this ball and socket, hip moving, arm moving, letting your thumb and pinky finger be coming up to your head. Good. And then feet on the floor and rock your feet all the way up. Feel across the ball of your foot into your arches, activation of those muscles. I'm even getting a cramp. Woo. And then go back. So activating those muscles, getting things to slide and glide through the ankle, but also really working on getting the muscles that support the arch to activate. Back and forth. All three arches of your foot, across the toes, down the inside edge of your arch and the outside edge of that arch of your foot also. Check your shoulders. And then just keep your feet down. Press your toes down into the floor. Activate the toes just down so that there's a stiffening at the ankle. Press, release, press, release, stiffening around the foot. And just see if both sides are even. My right foot is weaker than my left. It's the same side as I have most of the stuff that goes on in my body, shoulder, hip, knee. That foot is also affected. So just getting the base to really be active and strong changes the load all the way up that side. Getting the hamstring to fire, support behind my knee, even into that lateral hip. Good, a couple more. Let's do 10 more rocking. And then let's move into your hips. Grab your block, place it between your knees. Feet on the floor, knees bent, pelvis relatively neutral position here. And shoulders gently tucked underneath you. And then relaxed. Squeeze and release that block with the inside of your legs, finding your adductors. Adductors help hold the femur in good alignment with the pelvis, help unrotate anything. The floor is holding the stability of your body right now, so that as you squeeze in, there's no extra rotation in your back. Find some strength in those inside leg muscles. Ten more squeezes. Hug in, find them, release. Squeeze, release. Sometimes as you squeeze in, you can feel other things letting go, other things that might be compensating. Finding the prime mover. Right now, the adductor lets things that might compensate, maybe extra tightness in the hip, in the TFL, in the psoas, all of that gets to release as you do that squeeze. Go ahead and release that. Grab your strap. Place your strap around your knees. Hip width apart, and then press out. Finding your abductors. Shoulders relaxing. Pulling out with that strap. Finding your lateral hip. As that lateral hip turns on, maybe we get a little more extension in your back or release of some other compensation. Press, release. This can also be stabilizing to the pelvic ring. So your pelvis has the top part, the iliac crest, and the low part where it comes together at the pubic symphysis. And together on the back of that is your SI joint. And if your SI joint has too much play, then either the top or the bottom can be supported to squeeze in a little more to stabilize that SI joint. So doing this lateral press can provide some stability to that pelvic ring. Right now, you're also kind of lying on your sacrum. So that's putting your sacrum in a specific position. And if you had pain in that, when you press out, that would be an indication for us about the tissues that were being irritated. So we could also gain information from what we're doing in this exercise. This can help put a femur bone in a better position. That could take stress off of an SI joint. Ten more. Press. Find those lateral hip muscles. Release. Press. Release. And remove your strap. Go ahead and cross the right ankle over the left knee and then pull it all the way up. So neutral pelvic position or slightly tipped backward, and just check with your body. Is that okay? Feeling thoracic extension, shoulders open, press your right knee away from you, pull the left knee toward you. We're going to hold this for a minute. Push, pull. Find that hip flexor. the strength of that left hip flexor while that right leg externally rotates. This could remove a hip disparity. It could change a femur position. Big full breaths. And release. Switch sides. Crossing the left over the right. This time pull that right up. Pull the knee in toward you. Push the left knee away from you. Just notice what's the difference between the two sides. Push, pull, and breathe. We're using this psoas. We stretched the psoas or opened that psoas earlier. Go ahead and release it. And then we engaged that hip flexor. Sometimes the psoas can be short and weak. So if we open it up, then ask it to work, and then the psoas and the butt muscles kind of oppose each other. So now go after strengthening what might be a little bit weak by lifting and lowering your hips off the floor. Active bridges all the way up. Imagine your knees are going away from you so that you're creating length through your whole torso. There can be a little bit of stiffness here today as you come down, and then reach those knees away from you and come up again and release it back down. 20 bridges. Feel your hamstrings. Feel your butt muscles. And then just take a moment to rest. Reset your shoulder position. Once again, 20 more. Lift. Knees going away from you. Activate the whole backside of your leg into your glutes, into your low back, and come on down. Really lengthen. Find that length as you push down into the floor and the knees move away from your body, letting that hip just spin in the hip socket. Excellent. And then come onto your hands and knees into a push-up position or onto your feet, your choice. 10 push-ups. Down and up. One more time. Whatever position is feeling appropriate for you today. Good work. right, into a plank on your elbows. You can have any variation of that you like. So knees and elbows, that would be fine. Do that press out with your, that same thing to just create a little bit of stiffening in the abdomen, and hold that and do what we say, breathe behind the shield. So be able to take a full deep breath while you're holding just a little bit of that pressing out or stabilization with the abdominal cavity. As you go up there, still being able to breathe. And then onto your side, elbow on the ground, knees would be fine, and lift your hips off the floor, or feet out and lift. Hold in that position and stabilize. And switch. And release. And now press up and back into a downward dog position, tucking your toes, using that thoracic extension, coming up and back. Hold and breathe. Knees bent would be just fine here to prioritize the position of your spine, not letting a lot of rounding happening in your spine right now, but keeping that stretch up and back. If you can keep that, maintain that, and go ahead and press your legs towards straight. And breathe. And walk your feet to your hands. Bend your knees slightly, use a hip hinge, so pressing your hips forward as you come up. Go ahead and do that again. Bending down, straight back, knees bending, using your hips to pull forward and tailbone down as you come up, using the big muscles around your pelvis to come up to standing. And then in standing, let's find a balance. So right leg forward, left leg behind you, and come into a scale position. So you're gonna need some stiffening here to maintain that. And then see if you can lift your back leg off the floor. If you can't, just keep it on the floor to keep your body stable, that's fine. And then we're gonna add load with your arms. So that stiffening is important so you don't have extra extension, but hold that there, neutral position, and then reach your arms away from you and down. If you're lifting that leg off the floor, great. Lift and lower. Lift, lower. And come up. Second side. Foot straight on the floor. Find some variation that your body is leaning a little forward and you have that space and brace. And then reach and down, or if that leg comes off the floor, hold it, hips square, reach and release. And come on up. Now we're going to use those deep hip muscles. I'm going to use my block here. You can have nothing if you want to do these kind of airplanes with nothing, and just balance, or you can add a chair or a block. Take your body over and then open your hips so that they're stacking one straight up and down. And this butt muscle has to really work to hold that leg there. And then take your hips back to square and then turn that hip back open. Squeeze your butt muscle and then release it back down. Up and squeeze. Let's do that 10 times. And you could even play with speed a little bit here and see if you can squeeze it tight, contract it a little faster. Add a little power. Or slow it down and really control it. When you've done 10, switch sides. Open it up and down. And again, play with your speed. Little quick snap. Slow it down. And release. Let's go ahead and do an air bench to end today. Find a spot at the wall if you can, or a squat. If you don't have anything to be up against, you could just do a free squat, hug your feet in, push your knees out, and just hold that position. That would be fine. If you can come and do an air bench and press your back more flat to the wall, that would be great also. So that flexion, again, flexion of the spine in that position, your knees are bent. And we want to be able to know that a spine can do that. It is early. We have done a lot of work. But if this ever didn't feel okay to you, then you could keep your body more in neutral and not go so far into that flexion first thing. Maybe in the afternoon it would feel better than in the morning. Keeping your hips square. For those of us that it does feel okay, go ahead and take your back to rounded. See if you can get each of the segments to articulate up the spine until you come back into some thoracic extension. And just hold and breathe. Maybe you can lift your toes off the floor. Keep the weight in your heels, pressing through that hamstring, calf, butt. And come on up. And then come into whatever position is comfortable for you today. Laid out in Shavasana, legs up into static back or in seated. And today we're just going to feed your body with some energy. Just plug some light energy into your body. So go ahead and take a moment just to feel your breath move into your body. And I want you to imagine a scene where there's mountains and there's like a mountain lake, except the lake is not water. That lake is light. And that light is the healing light that makes up the universe, makes up your body. Every particle, every photon, every cell, tissue, nerve, muscle, skeletal, bone is all made of that light in your body. And just go ahead and allow that light to flood your right leg and your left leg and your torso and your right arm and your left arm, and again through the center of your body all the way to your head and out the top of your head. Just allow your whole body to be bathed in that healing light. If there's any healing that needs to happen in your body, just allow that light to do the work that it needs to do. If you have pain in your body, just imagine that that light is creating the healing that's necessary. And that all the people that are imagining that amplified light with you are adding to that power of that healing energy that you just brought into your body. And I want you to imagine for a moment that you are walking, dancing, surfing, whatever you want to do without that pain. You just see yourself with that easy, free motion, a grin on your face, free of the limitation. Just breathe that in. Breathe in all that healing energy amplified with your friends that care about you, releasing anything that's not serving you, pain, thoughts, emotions. Breathe in that healing energy again. Breathe it into your body. And then exhale anything you don't need. One more time, breathe it in and just see your body bathed in that healing light. Exhale all the rest. And then one more time, hold in your mind's eye your body, your being, free of that limitation. Attract that to you. Give that energy. May it be so. Thank you for coming to class today. I will take a few moments to visit if you like.